As we age, we gain freedom. The freedom to choose peace, to protect our time, to nurture what truly matters. But sometimes, the greatest threat to our peace doesn't come from the outside world. It comes from the doors we choose to walk back through. You see, not every relationship deserves a return visit. Not every person from your past needs a seat at your present. Some homes, some people, quietly chip away at your dignity, your confidence, your emotional well-being. And while you may still care about them, that doesn't mean they're good for you. In today's video, we're going to talk about something that's rarely discussed, but deeply important. The kinds of people whose homes, both literal and emotional, you should stop visiting. Because walking through the wrong doors can undo years of healing. And at this stage in life, your energy is sacred. This isn't about bitterness. It's about boundaries. It's about giving yourself permission to let go, with grace, with courage, and with your head held high. So, if you've ever felt drained after visiting someone, or walked away questioning your worth, you're not alone, and you don't have to keep doing it. Stay with me until the end, because these next few minutes could shift how you protect your heart, your time, and your future. What we're about to discuss may be uncomfortable, but it could also be one of the most empowering things you do for yourself. 1. The betrayer. There's a unique kind of heartbreak that only comes from being betrayed by someone you loved. Someone you trusted with your story, your struggles, your silence. Maybe it was a child you raised with every ounce of your strength. Maybe it was a spouse you stood beside for decades. Or maybe it was a friend you called family when the rest of the world turned its back. Whatever the case, betrayal leaves a mark. And the hardest part? It's not always loud. Sometimes it's subtle. A promise broken without explanation, loyalty traded for convenience, or a moment when you needed them and they simply chose not to show up. You might have told yourself it was a misunderstanding, that they didn't mean to hurt you. That time would fix it. But here's the truth. A person who has betrayed you once has already made a decision about where you stand in their life. That decision wasn't accidental. It was chosen. And as much as your heart might long to go back, to make things right, to feel like it never happened, walking back into the life of a betrayer often means sacrificing your peace all over again. You may enter their home with hope in your hands, only to leave with that hope crushed, doubting your own memory, questioning whether the pain was ever real. But it was. You didn't imagine it. That's the cruel trick of betrayal. It makes you second-guess your strength, your value, your perception. But you deserve better than to keep reopening wounds just to prove they existed. Choosing not to revisit that person, not just their house, but the emotional space they once occupied, is not an act of cruelty. It's an act of clarity. It's not about being bitter. It's about being better for yourself. According to the Journal of Aging Studies, older adults who maintain emotional boundaries after relational trauma report significantly higher life satisfaction and a stronger sense of self-respect. Why? Because they're no longer placing their well-being in the hands of someone who has already proven they'll drop it. Closure isn't something you have to beg for. It isn't found in someone else's apology. Sometimes, closure is simply the peace that comes from deciding, I've had enough. You can grieve the relationship. You can remember the good moments. But you don't have to keep returning to a place that hurt you, hoping for something new, when they've already shown you who they are. This doesn't mean you walk away with anger. It means you walk away with wisdom. There's a difference. You've come too far, through too many storms, to keep shrinking yourself for someone who never learned how to hold you gently. Your heart has already healed in places that used to feel broken. Don't let someone who broke it once have the chance to break it again. And if you ever feel guilty for stepping away, remind yourself, this is not abandonment. This is protection. You're not cutting them off. You're cutting off the access to the part of you they didn't know how to cherish. Peace is precious now. You've earned it. Let that be the measure of who gets to sit at your table, who gets to call your number, who gets to welcome you into their home. Because not everyone who once had a key to your heart still deserves a door to your presence. And that is the quiet power of letting go. If this message touched something in you, please consider sharing it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you'd like more messages like this, subscribe to stay connected. We're walking this path together. 2. The complainer. Let's imagine the scene. You step into their home, and the first thing you notice is how heavy the air feels. The blinds are drawn tight, not to keep out the sun, but to shut out the world. The television blares with the latest disaster, the news cycle spinning like a wheel of worry. Every conversation seems to circle back to what's wrong with everything: the country, the neighbors, the past, the future. And before you've even hung up your coat, you hear it. What's the point anymore? You came in with a full heart, maybe even a smile. But now, something inside starts to shift. The brightness you carried in begins to dim, not because anything happened to you directly, but because you're absorbing something invisible. Their gloom seeps into your spirit like slow-moving fog. It's subtle, it's quiet, but it's real. That's the power of constant negativity. It's contagious, especially when it comes from someone you care about. You want to listen. You want to be kind. Maybe you've told yourself, they just need someone to talk to. And while that may be true, there's a line, a very important line, between supporting someone and getting lost in their storm. Take, for example, Linda, age 72, from Akron, Ohio. She visits her childhood friend Carol every Tuesday, out of habit and care. But every time she leaves Carol's home, Linda feels emotionally drained. Carol complains about her health, her family, politics, the noise on the street, anything and everything. After a while, Linda noticed that she began feeling anxious before each visit, and even questioned her own outlook on life. "I started thinking maybe things really are that bad," she said. "But then I realized, that's not me. That's her voice echoing in my head." Prolonging exposure to pessimism, especially as the years go by, can actually rewire our thinking patterns. It doesn't just cloud our mood, it changes our chemistry. Hope begins to feel unreachable. Joy, like a distant memory. That's not just emotion, that's science, and it matters. Here's the hard truth. Misery doesn't like being alone. It looks for company. And if you linger too long, it might convince you it's all there is. This doesn't mean we abandon people who are hurting. Not at all. Compassion is still important. But so is your emotional boundary. You can visit, you can encourage, you can offer a listening ear. But you don't have to stay so long that you forget how to breathe your own air. Because some people aren't looking to feel better. They've worn bitterness so long, it feels like home. They're not searching for light. They want someone to sit with them in the dark and call it comfort. But you've walked too far, overcome too much to let your spirit be dimmed. Your peace, your quiet, steady hope, is one of your greatest treasures. It's worth protecting. You're allowed to walk away. You're allowed to choose peace over guilt. It's not cold. It's not selfish. It's healthy. Your soul was made for light. Let that be your compass when choosing which doors to enter and which ones to quietly stop knocking on. 3. The Possessor. The truth is, not every hurt comes with raised voices or slammed doors. Some wounds are quieter, the kind that hide in familiarity. You may not even notice it at first. It often starts with something subtle, a chuckle at your expense, a story brought up from decades ago, a comment like, "Well, you've always been like that." You smile politely, maybe even laugh along, but inside, something aches. Because you know you're no longer that person. You've grown, you've stretched, you've worked hard to become someone stronger, wiser, more self-assured. And yet, in this space, in their home, you feel like you're being pulled backward. The possessor doesn't always mean harm. Sometimes it's a sibling who hasn't outgrown childhood labels. Sometimes it's an old friend who still sees you through the lens of your lowest moments. They might call you the one who always needed help, the one who never quite figured it out, or the one who could never catch a break. But you're not that person anymore. And even if you once were, you don't live there now. These homes and these relationships can feel like emotional time machines. You walk in confident, proud of who you've become. But conversation by conversation, you're pulled into memories that no longer serve you. You're reminded of your past missteps, the things you lacked, the goals you never reached. It's like being asked to wear clothes that no longer fit, too tight, too small, and with no room to breathe. Their words may sound familiar, but they no longer match the person you are today. And that's the real struggle. No matter how far you've come, some people prefer to keep you confined to a version of yourself that's comfortable for them. Growth can be unsettling, especially for those who haven't done their own. Your transformation might challenge their sense of control or identity, and instead of honoring your evolution, they try to shrink you back down to the size they remember. Take Marlene, a 74-year-old retired nurse from St. Paul, Minnesota. After a life spent caring for others, she finally began investing in herself. She started yoga, traveled solo, and even took up painting. But each holiday, when she visited her younger sister, it felt like a rewind button had been pressed. Her sister still called her the shy one, and snickered when Marlene shared her latest accomplishments. "You went to Italy alone? That's not like you," she'd say with a raised brow. Marlene once said, "I'd leave her house with my shoulders slumped and my heart heavy. It's like all the work I've done to become this version of myself just disappeared in her living room." That kind of experience is more common than we admit, and it matters. The American Psychological Association notes that in later life, the social environments we choose or allow have a significant impact on our self-image. Being constantly reminded of who we used to be, especially through a negative or limiting lens, can erode self-esteem. Over time, this can make us question our progress, or even give up on it. But you deserve better. You deserve to be seen as you are now, not as someone's outdated memory. Growth demands space. It thrives in encouragement, not comparison. It needs people who are willing to meet you where you are, not drag you back to where you were. If you find yourself leaving certain homes feeling smaller or silenced, pay attention. Not every door from the past needs to stay open. Some homes were built for a version of you that no longer exists, and that's not a loss. That's proof you've moved forward. This isn't about pride. It's about peace. It's about standing fully in your truth, with dignity and self-respect, and knowing you're allowed to evolve, even if others choose not to. Let the possessors keep their old picture of you. You're not in that frame anymore. You've outgrown it. You're painting something far bigger now. 4. The envious. You've come so far. You've endured, learned, healed. And now, you're starting to enjoy the fruits of all that work. A little more peace, a little more clarity, maybe even the excitement of trying something new. But then, there's them. The person who smiles when you share good news, but there's something in their eyes, a flicker, a hesitation. Their words sound supportive, but the tone feels just a bit too tight. "Must be nice," they say, with a shrug. "Don't get your hopes up." "Are you sure that's a good idea at your age?" These phrases might seem harmless, even caring at first. But you leave the conversation feeling a little unsure of yourself, a little smaller, as if maybe you were asking for too much. Maybe your dreams are too bold. Maybe your progress doesn't matter that much after all. But let's be honest, it does. And deep down, you know that. It's not your joy that's the problem. It's their discomfort with seeing someone else rise while they feel stuck. Envy doesn't always show up with anger or hostility. More often, it's cloaked in politeness. It smiles through gritted teeth. It's subtle, but it cuts. Not with loud words, but with quiet dismissals, passive remarks, or constant reminders of what could go wrong. And over time, if you're not careful, those little nicks can wear you down. They can make you question your direction, stall your momentum, and worst of all, they can make you feel guilty for simply growing. But here's the truth. Your growth is not a betrayal. Your healing is not selfish. Your joy does not need to be explained or diminished just to make someone else feel better. People who truly love you will not compete with your light. They will bask in it. They'll clap for you when you win. They'll sit beside you, not beneath you. And they'll say, "Keep going. I'm proud of you." Envious people are often not malicious. They're afraid. Afraid of being left behind. Afraid of facing their own regrets. And when they see you moving forward, it reminds them of how long they've stood still. That fear becomes resentment. And instead of working on themselves, they try to slow you down. Not because they hate your progress, but because they don't know how to handle their own stagnation. But you are not responsible for their journey, and you do not owe anyone a smaller, quieter version of yourself. According to the gerontologist, when older adults experience resentment from peers, it can lead to emotional withdrawal and even cause them to abandon goals or new pursuits. That's why it's so important to recognize the difference between concern and control, between someone who's protective of you and someone who's protective of their own comfort at your expense. When you leave the home of someone envious, you might feel it in your body, a weight in your chest, a tension in your shoulders. Their words may have sounded warm, but underneath, you felt the cold. And that cold can linger unless you name it, understand it, and choose to walk away from it. You deserve spaces that support you, conversations that build you up, relationships that reflect the strength, courage, and light you fought hard to reclaim. Keep growing, even if it means growing apart. Not everyone is meant to come with you into your next chapter. And that's okay, because the people who are meant for you, they won't just accept your growth. They'll inspire it. So stand tall, celebrate your wins, and never dim your light just to make someone else feel comfortable in the dark. After all we've walked through together, the betrayals, the draining conversations, the limiting labels, and the quiet resentments, one truth remains steady. You deserve peace. Not just the absence of conflict, but the presence of safety, respect, and emotional freedom. As you age, the doors you choose to open, and the ones you gently walk past, will shape the quality of the life you live. Every interaction has energy. Some nourish you, others drain you. And as the years go on, that energy becomes more precious, because your time is more precious. You don't owe anyone access to your soul, especially not those who've shown they won't treat it with care. Let that be your permission. You have the right to step back, to say no without guilt, to choose peace, even if it means disappointing others. This stage of life is not a decline. It's a refining, a narrowing of focus toward what truly matters. If this video gave you something to think about, helped you feel more aware, more confident, or simply more at peace with setting boundaries, please share it with someone who might need the same reminder. And don't forget to subscribe for more thoughtful insights on aging wisely, protecting your peace, and living with intention. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.